Hi and welcome to this week's tutorial. I'm Victoria from notonlyyogi.com. Today we're going to go over half lift, a pose in yoga that we do a lot. And before we kind of dive into that, we're going to talk about the spine, the S-shaped curve, how that kind of supports us in this pose. We'll talk about two different movements, flexion and extension, and then we'll kind of see how that all wraps up, how it all comes together. So when you're ready, let's get to it. Let's talk about the spine. So if I'm sitting here and I bring my hands to my low back, I might feel my low back is kind of dipping in. That is the natural curve of the spine. And then if I bring my hands to my upper back, it might feel like it's kind of rounding out. And that's the natural curve of my upper back. So you can see if my upper back is rounding out and my low back is rounding in, it's an S. So our natural curvature of our spine is an S shape. So when we flex and extend the spine, we're either accentuating that primary, that upper curve of bumping out, or the secondary curve of dipping in. So one easy way to demonstrate this is if I come into a tabletop position here. So if I'm on all fours, hands and knees, I'm pretty much maintaining a neutral spine here. So you might notice that my low back is dipping in and my upper back is kind of rounding up. So when I flex my spine, what I'm trying to do is accentuate that bumping out, so my upper back curve. So that would mean finding a rounding spine here. And when I extend my spine, I'm doing exactly the opposite. So that would mean accentuating my low back curve, which is curving in. So it's feeling almost like a back bend here. So those are the two different movements, and when we come into a half lift, we want to find spine extension. So kind of that little low back dipping, almost like a little bit of a back bend. Spine extension becomes important when we come into a half lift because half lift involves a little bit of spine extension. But sometimes you might be restricted in extending your spine. A lot of people actually have big primary curves because they're driving all day, typing on the computer or texting, and all of that just kind of emphasizes that primary curve. So finding spine extension can be challenging. In that case, a lot of people might recruit their pelvis to make it look like their spine extending, but really they're not. Let me show you what I mean by this. So if I'm standing here, my hips are right over my ankles, and true spine extension comes from the spine, not the pelvis. So I'm just going to reach my arms out in front of me just so you can really look at my back. Notice how my pelvis doesn't move as I just extend my spine. So I find that little back bend curve here. This is true spine extension. But if I'm someone who's restricted there for some reason, then I'm going to use my pelvis. I'm going to tilt my pelvis forward. And you can see when I tilt my pelvis forward, it looks like I'm spine extending. But really, if you were to draw a line from my shoulder down to my pelvis, there might be a little spine extension, but mostly I'm just moving my pelvis forward in order to feel like I'm spine extending. If I were to take my pelvis and tilt it right back over my ankles and tilt it forward, then you can see I really am mostly in neutral position. Let's see how all of this comes together in a half lift. And we'll start in a standing forward fold. So if you're not familiar with that, go back to last week's tutorial just so you can watch that. So feet are hip width distance apart, toes point forward, bring the hands to the hips, take a big inhale. And then on the exhale, we fold straight forward, bending the knees as much as you need to, round the spine, let the head hang out the bottom, and release the hands. So here we go with the half lift. On the inhale, firm up the thighs, press your feet straight down into the mat so you activate your legs, and then bring your hands to your shins. Begin to straighten out the arms and feel how this lifts your chest up, almost in line with your hips, depending on how long your arms are. Now I want you to just notice here that my spine is in flexion, so I'm rounding here. So let's begin to find extension in the spine. I want you to knit your ribs together here to firm up your belly. Feel your belly get firm, and then roll the shoulder blades down your back. This begins to pull the chest forward, and continue by rolling the shoulder heads back and lift the chest forward and then up. At the same time, I want you to pull your pelvis back and pull your chest forward, like you're trying to lengthen from the front and back of your mat. And I want you to just notice here that my spine is in between neutral and a little bit of a back bend. So it's a little bit of both, a hybrid between the two. I take a big inhale here, my gaze is down to keep my spine long. And then as I exhale, I fold and round in. Let's just do 2 more to get to know it. Inhale, come up halfway, chest pulls forward, hips pull back, legs are firm. Exhale, fold and round in. Just 1 more, inhale, come up halfway, shoulder blades roll down the back, ribs knit together. Exhale, fold in. I hope you found this video helpful for looking for the actions and getting to know the spine in half lift. So let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments below, and stay tuned for a new video next week.